So let me take you back. This started around 7th grade. And around this time, me and my family became homeless because apartments we were living in no longer accepted Section 8. So from this point on, we go to a shelter, and we're there for months. When I tell you months and months on end. And we finally find a duplex up north in Colorado. So that meant I had to start a new school. And in this area, it was predominantly white. So I stuck out in the wrong way, it felt like, for me. And it would be around this time that things at home got even worse. My mom had a miscarriage. My dad blamed her. And because of that, their marriage started to crumble. And my mom started picking up shifts. Like, she was barely home. She was always sleeping if she was home. And the dynamics of the house started changing. So I started bearing... As I assumed more responsibilities in the household, I ended up having to do a lot more things at home because my mom just wasn't really physically present. She was always asleep when she was in the house, which was cool at the time. You know, I didn't mind taking care of my siblings, but I just didn't have a social life, if that makes sense. So that's when things with my dad escalated. At first, he would ask me for massages at night, and this slowly started to turn into like a nightly thing. And this would happen when my mom was asleep, my siblings were asleep, and it was really late in the night where it was like nobody really was going to wake up. And then it started with his back, and then it slowly went towards his legs, and then closer and closer to parts that I just didn't want to touch. Then one night he called me into the kitchen while everybody was asleep, and he made sure he called me into the kitchen, and my heart dropped. I didn't really know what to expect. It was dark, the lights weren't on, and when I walk into the kitchen, I see a tub of Vaseline. And he was in his boxers, so I didn't really know what was going on until he picked me up and put me on the counter. And that's when we had...
No.
It was definitely premeditated. Like, he purposely planned this. And it was something that, looking back, I see there was like so many red flags that were happening that the people around me just weren't aware of. And it was because he put on a good front. Everybody knew him as a friendly person. So it wasn't something that I really knew that was wrong at the time. For context, guys, I'm first generation African here. My parents are all directly from Africa. I didn't realize how evil my parents were until this situation progressed. So we're going to go back to the kitchen, guys. So after he's done penetrating me,
oh my God,
I noticed that he waits for me to go back into my room. And I'm walking down the hallway, trying not to wake up my siblings. I might as well just have to go along with it because I didn't think that I had a voice. Nobody was going to listen to me. So we're going to go towards one of the week. He calls me into his room, and I close the door behind me. It's dark. I don't really see his face. He asked me to come right next to him. And me being hesitant, because the last time he penetrated me. So I'm thinking this is going to be the same situation. So I proceed to slide in the bed. I'm right next to him, and I notice he's completely naked. And he has his phone out, and on his phone, he has porn. And he's basically telling me to look at the porn and see what they're doing, and he's telling me what he likes and what he wants me to do. And me being 13 around this time, I never really experienced watching porn or anything. It was at this point that my mom walks into the room. Mind you, she was cooking in the kitchen, and so she entered the room, and the words that came out of her mouth was that I'm going to find out what y'all are doing. And instead of her, turning on the lights, trying to see what's going on, she exits the room. Like, she has to know. She has to know. For example, I would be taking a shower before school, and he would interrupt my shower and hop in the shower with me and begin to violate me again. And this would happen every time that I would hop in the shower. There wasn't a shower that I really had that he wasn't involved in.
Oh my
And
God.
then wanting to send nudes. And this would happen quite frequently, sometimes before school, sometimes in the evening, before he would violate me again. There would just be different instances, and it increasingly got worse and worse. It even got to the point where I stopped walking my siblings to school because he would want to violate me at home. So my body belonged to him. I didn't have any say of what I wanted to do with my body, what I really wanted to wear, all of that stuff. And I know some of y'all are wondering, if I had any friends around this time. And I feel like the friends that I had around me knew me as a grasshead. Things to me. There was an instance where I couldn't even invite anybody over to my house because, my dad is a weirdo. And I'm not going to invite anybody over knowing that my dad does all this. But I really couldn't trust the people that I called friends with what was going on. Because of the stuff that they would do to me, it just showed that they didn't even like me either. So, I'm around an abusive household, friends that don't really like me. So I'm feeling very alone in this situation. I started smoking grass to deal with everything that was going on at home.
Okay, I was wondering what she meant by grass head. Okay, weed head. Yeah, I'm trying to. I gotta hit my shit now.
And because of this, my dad found this out and he used that as a manipulation method. He would give me weed so he could violate me because he knew that I would smoke it and I would take it. So it was more of this really weird reward system. If he violates me, then, I get weed. And so it turned out to be something that happened quite frequently, which also confused me because my mom did not approve of me smoking grass. And so I would get in trouble for smoking grass. And it was weird seeing him switch up. It was like, how are you going to give me grass and then also in the same breath be on the same side with my mom to, ground me and make sure that I don't leave the house and just little stuff like that. It was during these years that my dad isolated me. So I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed to have any social contact with anybody. Because of what he was doing, I decided to start ditching class. I just didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't have the motivation. I didn't care enough. And so eventually the school calls my parents and tells them that I've missed a lot of school, that I'm going to be in ISS. And, I'm sitting in the office waiting for my parents to come because it's just procedure. My mom comes in crying, bawling, saying that I'm a terrible daughter, that all I care about is smoking weed and this and that. And it was just basically making it seem like I was a badass child, which I wasn't. I was being manipulated. My father was graping me a lot, and to the point where he would start handing me pregnancy tests. And this happened early as I can remember, from 14, I believe. And it was because there was no protection that was being used. But I do remember him handing me the pregnancy test and telling me to pee on the stick. Because of my dad raping me, I became very hypersexual and I didn't know anything about consent at this time. So I ended up getting essayed at the library by guys who were
Oh
just taking
my
advantage of me. And I didn't know
God.
anything was wrong because this is already normalized at home. So I never said anything about it until it was something that really bothered me. I couldn't
Damn.
sleep. I was having really bad complex PTSD. In an attempt to deflect everything that was going on at home, when I did finally come out and say that something did happen at the library, I was blamed for it by my mom. She said that I was wearing the wrong clothes, that I was, doing all the things that you would just not say to a child that just got essayed. Around this time, my mom starts becoming more mean to me. And I mean, walking into the bathroom and calling me ugly while I was getting ready for school, just trying to make my life a little bit more difficult, telling me to do chores at weird times, saying that I was too close to my dad, to the point where they would get into arguments because my mom would argue that I was too close to him and that he allowed me to do more things. And it was just coming from a place of jealousy now looking back, because it was like, why do you feel these ways? Like, it was around this time that I was finally allowed to start going to the library. And I would be there from the moment I got out from school to when the library would close because I was not trying to be home. I didn't want to be there. So I ended up experiencing with substances with people who were around me because I was trying to numb the pain of what was going on at home. I wanted to find a solution that would help me get through it. Because how my mom already felt about me smoking weed, she decides to drug test me. And of course, it came positive that I was smoking weed. Duh. I wasn't going to stop. And so they both decided that I needed to stay home and to make sure that at least one parent was home, and usually ended up being my dad. And this happened progressively for the next couple months because they couldn't trust me and I was a trouble kid. But whole time my mom was just trying to make sure the abuse stayed in the family. And it was really evident because why aren't you letting me leave the house but you're letting my siblings leave the house? And my siblings are younger than me. So it just didn't make sense with the actions that she was taking against.
Yeah, I definitely think mom probably knew something was going on. She definitely suspected something because she like, I'm gonna find out what y'all been doing. Like, what? What kind of thing is that to say? You need to really figure this shit out. So it sounds like the mom was just and maybe not enabling, but allowing behavior. Well, enabling that shit too. You know what I'm saying? So this is really unfortunate, bro. Like I hate to hear shit like this, bro. Especially your own family. Like, come on, that's her dad. What's wrong with him? Hopefully he went to jail.
So we're going to start in 2020. That's where I met my first boyfriend. We're going to call him Larry. Larry and I spent a lot of time together. I would be constantly sneaking out to go see him. And around this time, I had a job. So it made it very easy for me to, quote unquote, go into work. And I was really just going to see Larry. I didn't really care about that job, to be honest with you. And it was around this time that I wanted to experience my own body autonomy. I didn't really know what that meant for me at the time. So the best thing that I could do was get piercings. And I got a lot of piercings back then. And they both knew what was going on. But the fact that I got piercings, like, it made them even more strict with me, but I just didn't care at this point. Like, I didn't care if they grounded me. Like, I would still sneak out. Like, their rules meant nothing to me. So this is the year of when COVID and everything happened. And around, I believe it was March 2020 is when we switched to virtual schooling. Around this time, the abuse got worse. And to the point where I didn't know if I could leave the house or not. My mom was working a lot of shifts. Like, when I mean like back to back shifts, she would get home, around the morning time and then go in maybe a couple hours later. So she was even less home. So like she didn't really matter at that point. Like, she was just barely there. So it would just be me and my dad alone in the house a lot of the times. My siblings would always be at the rec center because they, had friends out there. My brother would be playing basketball. My sister would be playing with her friends over there. And that's just what that was. At that point, they were old enough to go places by themselves. So the majority of the time, it would just be me and my dad at the house. One of these days, I'm walking into the living room. When I enter the living room, my parents are both just sitting there. And my mom asked me, if I had my nipples pierced. And of course, me denying it because I didn't wear any really revealing shirts at the time. So there was no way you could really see that I had my nipples pierced unless you see me naked. Like, let's be real. And so I got in trouble for that. They were like, you have to take it out. Like, it's against, purity standards, this, that, and the third. And I did not do that. I just did not care, guys. So the abuse ensued. And I'm pretty sure it was because of how my mom was being towards my dad, I guess. Because from what it seemed like for me, like, she wanted him to force me to take them out. And this is something that escalated the abuse even more because my mom would be just angry at him. So we're going to skip forward a couple months. So I'm working part-time at this job. I'm seeing Larry constantly. Things at the house are as quote unquote normal as they always have been. And one of these days that I'm at work, I'm thinking to myself, you know, prior to this, I'm on Google doing research because something isn't feeling right. I just know the things that are going on at home are just not normal. And me searching into like articles and stuff, because I'm just a very logical person when it comes to stuff. So I just have to do my research about things. I have to know like the psychology of things. And so I'm reading a lot of articles about people who have also gone through similar things as me. And it was at this time, almost to the end of my shift, I get a text message from, we're going to call him Luke. Luke was a friend that I had at a time. We'd always go to kickbacks, we would drink. Luke was cool. And around this time, me and Larry didn't really talk as much. I just had a lot of stuff going on, and I just really emotionally and physically couldn't really be there. So me and Larry just really just talked time to time, and I think we really just remained friends at this point. This was the moment that I wanted to run away. I don't know what was the starting point of it, but I really thought about it, and I was like, I just don't have to do this anymore. Like, this just doesn't have to be my reality anymore. So I end up going to this kickback with Luke. We have a grand old time. We end up staying in these motels for about a week or two. And he ends up paying for them, thankfully. And at the end of all this, because, motels are expensive, and we were both just kids at the time. So it was like we were using the money that we had from our jobs and stuff. So I really did appreciate him for helping me out. I truly did. So I believe it was at the end of one of the weeks, none of us had money. And so he suggested us to go back to his brother was living with his wife, and they had a bunch of kids and whatnot. So we end up going to his house. And while we're there, I'm just telling them what's happening. I'm not feeling safe at home. I need somewhere to stay for a little bit. So they end up opening up their home to me. I end up staying there for maybe 2-3 weeks. And it was at this point where I just realized I couldn't really be there for much longer. It wasn't a fact of like how they were treating me. They were very kind people. I just think it was just the fact that I wanted to go home. And it was like, I miss my bedroom. I feel like my bedroom was my favorite place in my house. Like, I had all my clothes there at the time, had all my posters, just my room. Like, I miss being in my room, being on my laptop, watching Netflix. Like, that was something that I missed.
Her own space, for sure.
Around this time, I end up having to go back home. And that is something that I've been wanting to do for the past week or so. But I just haven't talked to my mom. I blocked her number at this point because they were blowing up my phone, which they were, trying to figure out where I was at, this and that. So I end up calling my mom. And on this phone call, I'm telling her that I just do not feel safe at the house. Your husband is the one who's violating me, and I just do not feel comfortable being there. And on the phone, it sounded like she wanted to have a conversation at the house. So, me at this time, I was like, oh, okay, she's going to be receptive. She's going to be willing to hear me. And from what it sounded like, my dad wasn't home. So this would be an ample time for me and my mom to talk, for me to actually say what's been going on, and to try to find a middle ground. So
I ain't gonna lie. I think her mom personally knew what was going on. She had to, man. She had to.
like I can be safe and I don't have to stay in that house anymore. And so I took the bus there, and as soon as I get to the door, I have my heart dropped, because I didn't know what to expect. And knowing how my mom was, I just didn't know how she would receive the conversation. I'm at the house. I walk in, It's just my mom there. And so I end up just sitting on the couch and telling her what's going on. It was at this point she started getting angry with me, and she was like, my husband would never do that. You're making things up. Knowing the way that this conversation's already going, I know that she's not going to listen to me. So I end up just trying to go upstairs. And as I'm going upstairs, she drags my legs down. Like, she starts getting physical with me. And she's like, you can't leave this house. And, like, just starts going crazy on me. Like, I start pushing her down the stairs because she's literally trying to make it seem like I'm gonna like fall down the stairs, and I just did not like that. So she ends up calling the cops on me. And on the phone call, she describes me as this hostile teenager who doesn't want to listen and is trying to be like physically violent with her. I'm sitting on the staircase waiting for the police to come because in my mind, I'm thinking this is an opportunity for me to say something. This is the time for me to actually say what's going on at home, and, you know, maybe I can have a solution. Maybe something can be better of this. My mom is screaming at me. She's being an asshole. That's literally how she's being. I just not even talking to her. I'm just sitting on the stairs, cool, calm, and collected. One of the police officers comes to the door and knocks and asks to enter the door. And so my mom lets them in. And when they let them in, she starts to say her side of the story, that I'm being violent, that I ran away. And I'm telling them that I need to talk to them outside because somebody's going to listen to me. And if it's not the person who's going to be my parent, it's going to be a person of authority. So as I'm telling the police officers what's happening, I can hear one of the female officers giggle. And that in itself pissed me off at the time. But it wasn't something that I was really thinking of. I just really wanted to get out of the situation. Anytime child abuse is reported, a child welfare person is sent to the house. And so that's what happened. I ended up having to be in the cop car across from the house, and the social worker went in to talk to my mom. My siblings just got home from the rec center at this point, so I could only imagine what was happening. And shortly after the caseworkers in the house, I see my dad's car pull in front of the house, and I duck in the back of the police car. I do not want him to see me. I can see my dad trying to enter the front door, and then my social worker is there. And I didn't know what conversation that they were having until afterwards. And so I just see him leave the house. The social worker tells me that it's okay to come out, and so I end up going back to the house. And my mom has to sign some agreements and things for my safety for me to stay there. The overall agreement stated that my dad was not allowed inside the property, but that he could park on the curbside, which was problematic in itself. After the social worker left, I felt like I was safe again, maybe? I didn't really know. Without my dad in the house, it just felt a lot more peaceful. However, my mom started being an asshole to me. And she started blaming me for changing the dynamic of the family. I needed to lie and say that my dad didn't do anything, and just spewing a lot of stuff out from her mouth because it was coming from a place of guilt, if we're being honest. For about a week or two, it's just really hostile in the house. One thing being that since my dad was allowed to be on the curbside, every day, I think it was around noon, my siblings and my mom would literally go out and talk to my dad, and they would just conversate with that man. And I would be on the top floor, so I could see them doing that. And that gave me brain damage. I can't even hold you guys. Knowing that my mom didn't support me, and the only reason that my dad wasn't in the house was because of my social worker, I didn't really want to talk to anybody. Mind you guys, I'm still working at this job. And so I've been calling in for the scheduled shifts that I have because I'm just not able to go into work. One of the days, I really just want to leave the house, but I'm not able to. My mom at this point was just keeping me in the house. Like, she did not want me to exit the house. I feel like it was like a form of punishment in her head. And I wanted to go to work, and that was just something that I wanted to do. My mom ends up calling the cops as soon as I try to exit the house. And because I was a minor at the time, they were like, what your mom says goes. So I ended up just going back into my room. And the next couple weeks were hell. I stayed in my room the majority of the time because I just did not want to deal with my mom. And I would just really go downstairs when they weren't around, or, when they were around a corner, just to sneak food upstairs because I just really did not want to be around my mom. She was just being very weird and hostile towards me because she felt some type of way because her husband wasn't in the house. And my siblings, they're young and impressionable at this time, so they're gonna do whatever their mom says them to do. During this time, I start feeling strange, and I'm not sure what's going on. Like, I'm doing weird shit. Like, I was drinking a lot of Sprite back then, and I didn't really like Sprite back then. I was eating a lot of weird foods. I just didn't understand. Like, my body felt completely different, and there was just no way of me expressing what was going on in my body. And I feel like during that time, things are just happening in my body. I just don't know what's going on. My mom becomes even more mean. I don't know what's happening with this lady. Yeah, she starts saying that, like, she's gonna do all these things to me, like unenroll me from school, make sure that I'm working full time, and she's just talking out of her ass. Like, let's be real. She wasn't gonna really do anything to me. I know that she was just saying that out of anger, but still. One of these nights, she ends up doing something very lucrative. I think I was in my room and I was packing up my bags because I've had it at this point. My mom has just made.
And this is crazy. I'm noticing she keeps on explaining like what's going on with her, but like her siblings, like it doesn't seem like they're getting the same treatment. You know what I mean? Or unless she's not saying, you know what I'm saying? So because they were able to leave the house and everything, like she say.
It very inconvenient for me to be alive in her house. Like, and I contacted the aunt of Luke that I was staying with previously and telling her what happened because she said if I needed anything, she would pull up and she would be there. So I texted her to come to the house because, like, my mom was being fucking insane. As I'm packing my bags up in the room, my mom tells my siblings to stack up suitcases against the door so I can't leave. And mind you, these are full suitcases. They all have clothes in them and whatnot. But that wasn't going to stop me. So I knocked those suitcases out the way, and the aunt texted me that she was downstairs. My mom is over here trying to make a scene, saying that she's going to call the cops on her and this and that. Y'all, this lady gave no F's. She was like, call the cops. Go ahead. And my mom didn't do nothing. She told me that she would be there, and she showed up for me. And she told my mom that she would take me. Like, you're not treating her right. Like, so that night I left and I went back to the aunt's house. My social workers know how insane my mom was. But to them, they were like, oh, you could just stick it out and everything. And then in the back of my mind, this just wasn't going to be a thing. Like, there was just no way that this was going to be a thing. And I forgot to mention, prior to this, I went to the clinic, and because of all the symptoms I was experiencing, I went to the clinic and I got tested, and I found out I was pregnant. So this is a crucial detail of the story. The aunt also knew I was pregnant once I went into the car. Like, I didn't tell anybody what was happening. I didn't even tell my social workers up until this point. So as we're at the aunt's house, I'm waiting for the morning time to come so I could be able to call my social worker and figure out something, because I need a long-term solution. I don't want to keep bouncing house to house, and it just seems like that's just what felt like I was just going to be doing. So when I'm on the phone with my social worker, she just ends up telling me that I can't stay with the aunt, and I won't reveal for what reasons, but I just wasn't able to stay there. And so I had to look for someone else who would take me in, and that ended up being my other aunt. When I enter my aunt's house, and while I'm there, things are a little bit hostile, and I don't believe any of this was my fault. I was really depressed and I didn't really have any motivation to really get up. I was just like laying in bed all day. And something I noticed is that bothered my aunt a lot. And instead of just like being there emotionally, she started like yelling at me and like kind of was just like, you need to get out of this depression. And it was a lot. And mind you, I'm not really related to this aunt as just, a close family friend that wanted to take me in. And I know some of y'all are probably wondering what happened with like my rest of the family. And essentially, this aunt was the last resort. The rest of the family was basically like I would just like mess up their family dynamic and they didn't want to house me at all. Which at the time I was like, I felt like a burden. I was like, oh, my situation's too much for people to take in. And that was just the mindset that I had during that time. One of the weeks I'm staying, my cousin ends up getting COVID, so my aunt suggests to go quarantine over at her best friend's house. She lived farther north up from where she was living, so it was like about a good 30-minute to an hour drive. As we're on the way up there, she's telling me to consider staying with her best friend, that she would give me the resources, and that I could have a good life there because she just was no longer able to house me. Mind you, I would be staying with some random Mormon white lady, and I just didn't know who she was. And at the time, I just really wanted a place to stay, but I also was very hesitant. We get to her house. She's very nice, very hospitable. Like, they have a really nice house. Like, they live in a very nice area. And so we're up there for about a week. My aunt ends up leaving, and I just end up staying there. So I just pretty much got dropped off there. While I'm staying at these people's place, I'm really pregnant at this point. I think I'm almost close to my second trimester, and they knew everything that was going on because I entered into the foster care system. During this time, I was just very depressed. I spent all my time in the basement just binge watching my comfort shows, and they were huge nerds, so that helped. Like, they introduced me to Nintendo 64 and like a whole bunch of vintage stuff that like helped influence my personality today. During this time while I'm in foster care, my dad goes to jail and he gets charged with, incest, violation of a minor. Just all these different charges were stacked up against him.
Okay.
And his bond ended up being $100,000, which was something I was really excited about because I was like, oh, he's never going to get out. Like, that's a bond where it's just like, that's pretty high. Like, I don't know anybody who could pay that off. Shortly after he went to jail, my mom posted a GoFundMe that was taken down immediately, thank God. She basically, in the description, was saying that I lied on her husband.
How the fuck did she lie? Okay, so you give the girl up. So the girl is pregnant. So what she think the girl was just pregnant by another boyfriend or something? Like, come on, man. Your husband was convicted. Like, what the hell?
And that she needed money to raise him out of jail and
Well, he probably what's 100,000, 10% though. I don't know if it's 10% or where they at, but ain't it 10% of 100,000? So he would need 10,000.
this and that. And it was ridiculous, guys. I could not tell you how hurt I was. Mind you, I had to figure out all this information by myself because I am a minor and I was not allowed to know the information that was going on in my own case. And I think they were trying to prevent me from being distressed, but I know myself and I feel like the more information that was presented to me, that I would have been more comfortable and I wouldn't have been as stressed. As helpful as my foster parents were, they were also religious. And this also low-key kind of traumatized me because I used to be Mormon and I left the church. And so they were Mormon and they were trying to get me to go to church and everything, and I just wasn't comfortable. I had to express this to my social worker later on. It was just a lot of things that happened in the home that I just wasn't comfortable enough because it was just a bunch of religious trauma. That is besides the point. We're about a month or two later, and I'm noticing something ain't right. Like, my intuition is very strong. And right after I'm getting this feeling, I get a call from the DA in the morning saying that my dad got bonded out. And from what I know, my family bonded him out. He had $100,000 bond, and the surety bond was only like the 10%. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. So my family basically raised $10,000 to bond him out of jail. Learning this news, I'm already pissed off. Like, I'm
So don't nobody believe this girl. Like, this is crazy.
going through so much things. The last
None
thing
of
I
the
wanted
family
this man
members.
to be was out. The court decides to release him on ankle, and he ends up being at my grandma's house, which is about a block or two away from where my mom's house was. As we approach the winter months, I believe I was around my third trimester at this point. I decided to continue with the pregnancy for the reasons that I did at that age. I just wanted to be loved, and I think I wanted to bring love into this world, and that's just what was going through my mind at the moment. As the winter months pass by, I'm getting more accustomed to the family. I'm getting out the basement. I'm talking to everybody. Like, I'm more social. And we're also getting ready for the baby to be there. My foster parents bought everything that I needed as far as things with the baby, postpartum, that sort of thing. And while I'm going through all of this, there is talk of how DNA testing needs to ensue.
Right.
And
For sure.
while
Definitely need
all of
that.
this is happening, he ends up cutting off his ankle monitor and goes missing. So we don't know where dad is. DA calls me, they don't know where he is. My mom is missing these court meetings. So everybody's just kind of in a floozy. Nobody knows what's happening truly. And I'm really just trying to focus on myself. We skip to the day that I go into labor, the day I give birth. I end up it was a very chill day, but it was very much winter. It was a heavy snowstorm. I believe the date was March 15th of 2021. I end up having to, go to the ambulance, and the ambulance is taking fucking forever. And I'm in pain. I don't know what's going on. As soon as I get to the hospital, I'm excited to see the nurses that I've had on my team for a while. They were all very supportive, and it was all the nurses that were there for mostly all the appointments that I had. So it had like a sense of relief for me at that time. Knowing I had all these women on my team gave me an easy delivery, and I went natural for birth because as soon as I went into the hospital, I wasn't able to get an epidural or anything. So I was just too far along, and then I had the baby girl.
Oh. Oh.
Covering her face for her privacy and whatnot.
For sure.
So
For
after
sure.
giving birth, about a week or two passed by, and the forensic analysis people come to my house to take my DNA, take the
Right.
baby's DNA,
Right.
and take it to court, basically. Meanwhile, my mom missing court meetings is a huge problem because it's the welfare of me. So my mom essentially gets the social worker and the police to the door because they're like, she's missing a lot of meetings and we don't know why she's missing a lot of meetings. From what my social worker told me, they looked around the house and they found my dad hiding in the boiler room in the basement. I don't even have words to say, guys. It's just that in itself was like, why the fuck? So they end up arresting him again. And so he's in jail. During this time, they're able to obtain a DNA sample from him as well. DNA testing only takes a couple of weeks. So within weeks, we have the results. And the results come that my dad is the father. But the way that his lawyer was working, they tried to slow down the case.
Seem I ain't see the just looking at the baby seemed like a healthy baby. Y'all know like it could cause like problems when you have kids by your siblings, you know what I'm saying? Well, not by yourself, well, that's her father, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Your blood.
And essentially say that the test was tampered with. So I had to do this 2, 3 more times before anything could really be finalized. During this time, the baby is a couple months older. I'm getting accustomed to this, but also in the back of my mind, something isn't feeling right. I just don't know if I could do this any longer, if I could be this baby's mother anymore. I end up sharing my concerns with the social worker and my foster parents. And essentially, what happened is we contacted an adoption agency. So, for clarification, my mom knew everything that was going on. She just was denying everything. Like, she got court documentation proving everything that she was reading was, real. Nonetheless, let's get back to the story. So, I believe I left off of the adoption. So, it's adoption day. We'll skip to that. I believe it was maybe May. I'd like to say that it was later in 2021. And the day of her adoption was a very emotional process. I had maybe a good hour with her before they took her to her new family. It ended up being a closed adoption, something that I was more comfortable with, and I just wanted to make sure that she would have a good life. After she was taken to adoption and she was out of the house, I then started to apply for jobs, looking for jobs. The court proceedings are still the same. He was still locked up at this point, and there wasn't really any change in the case as far as I knew. And during this time, because I got a lot of questions, my siblings weren't allowed to see me. My mom kind of used that as a playing field. I wasn't able to see my siblings for a good 2 to 4 years. And it was really hard during that time trying to communicate with them and trying to keep up with what they had going on as well. Like I said, I was working 2 jobs actually. And during this time, I just wanted to pour all my effort into just working and just getting out of the foster care system and getting my first apartment. So we're going to jump to halfway into 2022. My dad gets released on ankle. And this was something that...
What? How the fuck he get released on ankle? He got released on ankle again? No way.
I was a little bit confused of, because I was like, how are you guys going to release him on ankle when he escaped the first time? I digress. At this point, I've saved up a lot of money, so I'm able to start looking for apartments. I end up finding one that's within my budget, and it's quote-unquote my dream apartment. As far as everything that's going on for me, everything's going well. The case is a whole nother thing, but I try to just focus on myself and just try to get myself to accomplish the goals that I've set for myself. At this point, I haven't really heard anything about the case because there's not really any progression that's happening. But I am told, I believe, a day or two before I moved in, that they were going to sentence my dad 40 to life, I believe is what the DA told me. Life is looking up. I'm like, my dad is going to be prosecuted. I can start my own life. So things are going well. Or so I thought. The day I move, I get a call from the DA. And the DA tells me, verbatim, your dad's escaped and we can't find him. What was meant to be a happy day turned into a sob fest because I was just more confused. I was excited. Finally moved into my first apartment. Not really thinking too much about my dad, my family, and all that situation. The DA essentially told me to just start living my life and to just kind of forget about the case, was how it felt and how I perceived the message that they were saying to me. I should add that they never did find him at all. About
To this
a couple
day?
months go in, and there's just no word. Like, the case really just has ended. Like, they don't know where he's at. They've looked through my mom's place. Like, they don't know where this man is. I'm talking to my siblings, and I'm finding out that my mom still has contact with my dad. And me being nosy, I'm asking, do you know where he's at? Like, where is he? From what my siblings said, he escaped to Africa. And that's where he's been for the past 4 or 5 years. I didn't get the justice I deserved. He ended up escaping, and that was just pretty much the end of that. To answer the questions that people might have, since I went through a closed adoption, I still do get pictures and updates from the child from.
That's so nice because a closed adoption is when nothing is no information is shared between the two families. So that's good. I was about to say that's good, but at the end of the day, that still could be trauma. She looking at the baby too. So I understand both sides of the coin. But this nigga yo, how does nigga get to Africa, bro?
Time to time. And today she'd be around 5 years old. I should add, my mom still to this day doesn't believe me. I tried rekindling things with my mom, thinking that we could talk about things, but she's still in the same mindset of that I ruined her family, and that's just what she's been telling herself for all.
Yo, her mom is a I ain't gonna even. I'm trying to be nice and stop calling people names, and you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to do better. But her mama stupid ass bitch though. I ain't gonna lie to you. Her mama just fucking stupid. Like, bitch, the fucking DNA test. The bitch, she done seen all these fucking DNA tests as a little girl done took, and you still taking up for your husband. Like, this shit don't make sense to me. Sometimes the fucking like the shit is right in your face. Like, and you still like you help the nigga get to Africa. How the fuck her mama don't believe DNA tests? She don't want to believe it.
These years. As far as my siblings, it's kind of the topic we don't talk about. And that's just due to everybody's comfort but my own. And that's why I felt like I really had to share my story. It's something that I feel like has built the person who I am today. I appreciate everyone who tuned in and listened to my story. Hopefully, I can be able to get it out, maybe write a book. Who knows what the future holds for me. And for those who DM me about their personal experiences, you are heard. And if you feel like you have nobody, you have me.
Man, my heart goes out to this girl, man. It seemed like she really matured though. It seemed like she got a good head on her shoulders, you know what I'm saying? But this is definitely unfortunate. She didn't get the justice she deserved for sure. How the fuck do you let how the fuck do somebody get out and they put an anchor monitor on them? You fucking hide. You cut your shit off. You hide. They catch your stupid ass. Put you back in jail. You get back on an AQ monitor again, and then you escape to Africa. What the fuck? What state was that? They just didn't give a fuck. I don't understand. Yo, the justice system is like crazy. It's like sometimes, motherfuckers get justice, boy, and then sometimes like weird shit like this be happening that I don't even understand. Like, how could it even happen? Like with the motherfuckers that was at work these days, like these was the substitute motherfuckers, substitute judges and shit. Like, what the fuck going on? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what lawyer he had that allowed him to get out on ankle monitor twice after cutting it the first time. What kind of lawyer was that? That's the fuck. Yo, listen. That's the definition of your fucking lawyer working magic. Literally, that's crazy to me. I don't understand. Um, but I'm glad she still get to see pictures of the little girl. Look like a little healthy little baby. You know, this is unfortunate, bro. You know what I'm saying? And my heart goes out to this girl. That's oh my god, her own dad. That's horrible, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, that's horrible. I really, oh my god, wow.
I've been getting a lot of questions surrounding the case and like the report and everything, so y'all can pause and read it right here. Essentially says that I have no support from my biological family. My mom continues to engage in victim blaming behaviors and refuses to believe that I experienced abuse in the family home. Additionally, my father is currently not cooperating with law enforcement of his criminal case matters. And then it says right there, my biological father is currently on the run and has cut off his ankle monitor. And like my siblings, due to like their age, they were just unable to understand what was going on. And yeah, essentially says everything that's right there, girl. And you can see the case number. I'm pretty sure it should be public, but I'm also not sure because I was a minor at the time that this was occurring. So y'all can let me know. But yeah, everyone's been asking for a face reveal. That's my mom. That's, yeah, that's that man. So yeah. Here is a closer image of what he looks like, and y'all could see his name right there. So y'all could do your own research. I don't really care what y'all do, but yeah.
All right, man. This is crazy to me. I really don't know what to say besides my heart goes out to this young lady. Like, this is wild. And to have no support from your own mama, your mama still don't believe you. Like, it's just, it don't make no sense. And she even tried to reconcile with her mom, which is crazy, you know? Y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. I am lost to word, lost for words, for real. But y'all share y'all thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate y'all tuning in and rocking with me. And yeah, God bless this girl, man. God bless her. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with me, man. It's your boy Ray, Big Play Ray. Peace.